It might be an odd choice, but this is my favorite shot in Andor Season 1. Not because of its shot composition, color, character framing, tension, or anything else, even though all of those things are fantastic by the end of Season 1. It's because during one of the most critical moments in the narrative, someone, either the episode director Benjamin Caron, or one of the show's many editors, as seen on screen, or who knows amongst the plethora of filmmakers involved, added this one shot. I'm Theo, better known as I Saw a Bear. Welcome to a series that I'm calling This One Shot, where I focus on cool, artistic edits or arrangements of scenes in film and TV that I just can't get out of my head, to better appreciate the editing behind the media we love. Today we're taking a look at Andor Season 1, and it should go without saying, spoilers ahead. A quick brief about myself first. While I don't do professional editing full-time or even really part-time very much, I have been recording, shooting, and editing all of my own YouTube videos for over a decade at this point. And yes, I've even gotten paid to make certain videos, edit trailers for the game I play the most, it's Foxhole by the way, and overall over the years I've just come to have a huge appreciation for the editors that you never hear about when discussing films or TV. The ones stuck behind the back rooms actually putting the footage that took months or years to shoot and coalescing it in a way that not only makes the story make sense, but gives its pacing, matching its imagery with its ideas, and in the best cases, creating meaning that transcends what the characters on screen feel in that moment. A message that reaches out to the audience, not just the characters in the story. I won't go too deep into my history with the Star Wars universe, but suffice to say, when I was young I was a huge fan, watching the original trilogy every day coming home from school on my grandma's VHS player. Look up what that is if you're too young. Playing every game I could get my hands on, and yes, I mean every game. But since then, I fell off a bit. I had other priorities, my interests changed, but Andor. Well, Andor is something special, and a big part of what draws me to this series is the editing. There's nothing even fancy about it. They make pretty standard cuts between scenes. There doesn't appear to be any major edits or editing to the raw footage itself beyond basic color correction or changing exposure values. Heck, they don't even mimic the OG Star Wars fade transitions from the movies. So what is it about such a basic editing style in Andor that stands out for me? Well, for me, it's the narrative context that the edits not only serve to convey, but heighten, add to, and highlight character relationships and narrative themes. Let's start with an early example of how the editing amplifies the story. In the first arc of Season 1, the narrative establishes that Andor was removed from his home planet of Kenari by who would later become his adoptive mother, Marva. In Episode 3, Cassian is forced to flee with Luthen, and both scenes, layered on top of each other, is clearly meant to mirror one another. It's a new beginning, a new departure, and a feeling that I've had to live through this before, leaving something behind, but wondering what's ahead. And it's a really powerful scene. Most people seem to have caught this mirroring imagery, and it even finds its way into Season 2's Episode 3, Harvest. And again, it's fantastic, although it's pretty apparent what they're doing, trying in some cases to show how far a character's come despite reliving similar events, or at least in Season 1's case, how far they have yet to go, since young Cassian and older Cassian from Season 1 Episode 3 is still relatively the same person. But while these 2 to 3 scenes mirror each other really well, a scene in Episode 10, One Way Out, helped me to see that the editing in the series wasn't just capable of referencing the in-world lore and referencing its own scenes in an artistic fashion, but also subtly influencing the audience to think of characters in certain ways. In Episode 10, after the prison break from Narkina 5, Andor and his new pal Melshi escape. Then we cut to the amazing sequence between Rebel spy Lonnie, working inside the ISB, and Luthen working the behind the scenes of the rebellion. While everyone rightfully loves this scene and its monologue, upon rewatching it, there's also a great subtle edit that some people may have missed. Take a look.
Just stay with me, Lonnie. I need all the heroes I can get.
Simple but brilliant, right? At the very moment Luthen says, I need all the heroes I can get. It cuts to show two guys who just helped lead a prison break and fight for people wrongfully enslaved and lead them to freedom. These are the heroes Luthen needs, and these, as we know from Rogue One, are the heroes we will get in the end. It's subtle, but just layering that dialogue and cutting to the scene of the two that would later become heroes in the Rebel Alliance. It plants that seed of these two becoming heroes later on in the Rebel Alliance in your head, in the scene, even though they are not at that point in their story arcs yet. The edit complements the narrative. So now, we come back to the beginning, or the end I should say. Episode 12, Rick's Road. Again, you should have watched the show by now, so I don't think I need to tell you that the whole funeral and riot sequence are incredible. Marva's speech, which would make anyone want to stand up and fight injustice and bring down tyranny, is fantastic. But just like the last example, there's one subtle, small edit, for me anyways, that really stood out. And it's exactly the one I showed you at the beginning. The transition from the overhead shot of the Imperial agent to an overhead shot of Cassian is good movement motivation for sure, but what makes it special is the dialogue.
In my waning hours, that's what comforts me most. But I fear for you.
Marva's "But I fear for you" perfectly summarizes the love that Marva shows for Cassian, that manifests into fear for his well-being.
I'll be worried about you all the time.
That's just love. Nothing you can do about that.
I mean, this is the epitome of these characters' relationship. She's worried about him on Kenari, and took him in onto her ship. She worried about him constantly when she didn't hear back from him when he was in Nargino 5. And despite this, the editors and the editing still got these two characters, in separate scenes, with one alive and the other dead, still able to share that last moment together on screen. It also helps when you pair up the scenes together of Cassian turning around and then Marva's speech continuing in the next shot. Filmmakers often do this to subtly hint at character interaction and conversation, but for that brief moment their eye lines pair up with each other, subtly hinting that they are conversing with each other. It also makes moving from Cassian's shot to Marva's shot a bit softer on the eyes, as Cassian's eyes are directing you where to look in the next scene. Side tangent here, while I was editing this whole video, I also just realized that Marva being on a hologram is very reminiscent of the look of Force Ghost characters in other Star Wars movies. Huh. But pairing the scene perfectly with the dialogue, the editor cutting to Cassian during her speech, as if she wasn't talking to the people of Ferrix in that one moment, but to her loved one, just speaks volumes to me about the care and thought that went into the editing of the series. But that little edit, this one shot, trust me, editors behind the scenes, I saw it.
You can't stay, and I can't go.
I love this series, and I would love to do more of these videos, especially for Season 2. So if you're interested in more of these style of videos, comment down below on what movies or shows or even games I should cover. And remember to like and share the video. I tend to take a lot more time for these type of videos, so I'll really only be able to commit to these if more people see and ask for them. And again, since this is my first time stepping outside of my wheelhouse for this kind of thing, be sure to let me know how I can improve for the next one. Until the next shot, bear out.
Production, the actors, the editing departments. This is everything we have in the bag. People say, what's your favorite episode? That's my favorite episode because it's just such a showcase for everybody all at once.